This is where the Muslims put everything in there, and they didn't shy away from things that were problematic. They put it in there, and the early community left it for the ulama to sort out. I'm just going to make sure everything that was said about the Prophet or is related by the Prophet ﷺ, no matter whether it's sound or hasan or da'if, these are terms that came later, whether I'm just going to make sure it's all there. And that's why this vast corpus of hadith was put forward. And over time, it was sorted out. And this happens also in fiqh, it happens in aqidah. Big debates were launched in all of these areas in order for the scholars to sort out what was normative Islam. Because any religion that emerges, it does not come in the Quran, first of all, is not Aristotelian in that way that things are not laid out like statute law. Sharia is not presented like statute law, section 4, article 5. It's not like that. That comes later. The verses on Hajj are in different places in the Quran. The verses on prayer are in different places. And there's a reason for that also. So the Prophet ﷺ, the Quran clearly states, مَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. He does not speak from his hawa. He doesn't speak from his desire. This is revelation speaking, being revealed to him. That includes his speech. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he spoke, if he said something, it's considered revelation unless it was in umur that are not related to revelation. The famous hadith that Imam Muslim relates, where he passed by, that in Medina they were fertilizing the palm trees. And he thought that was very strange that they would be doing that. And he commented on it, and so they didn't fertilize it, and the crops were damaged. And then they brought it up to him, and he said, I'm not a farmer. He said, you know antum adra bi umuri dunyakum. You know your worldly affairs, but I didn't come to teach you about these things. How to pollinate date palms or not pollinate them. That's not why I'm here. So that was a learning lesson in itself. So it was a teaching lesson that don't follow me in things that I'm not an expert in. You're farmers. I come from a merchant people. He was the greatest merchant, but he wasn't from an agricultural community. The same in medicine. There are people that think Tibb al-Nabawi, that we have to follow Tibb al-Nabawi. The prophetic medicine was the medicine of the Arabian Peninsula at the time. And this idea that medicine is what we should be practicing today, we certainly, if the Prophet did it, or if he told us to do it, there's benefit in it, undeniably. And Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah said a lot of the prophetic medicine works to the degree with which you have faith in it. So this is what they would call in the West placebo effect, because people, when they have a strong faith in something, they can actually derive benefit from it just by that faith. So we know that's true. And I think it's a mistake not to use placebo on people. I think there's a lot of benefit in it. And they've proven that placebo can be very effective, but they consider it unethical to do that for people now. They used to do it, but now they consider it unethical. That's another matter. But the point is that the Prophet ﷺ, Ibn Khaldun said he did not come to teach us medicine, although within his religion are the principles of medicine. So for instance, the Quran says, "Kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu, innahu la yuhibbul musrifin." Eat and drink, but not to excess, because God does not love those who are excessive. When one of the Greek physicians heard that verse, he said, "Ma taraka nabiyukum shay'an li jalinus." Your prophet didn't leave anything for Galen. Because Hippocrates and Galen said all of illness begins in the stomach. National Institute for Health in the United States said 80% of ailments in the United States are diet. The Prophet ﷺ relates from Al-Harith al-Kadada, one of the great physicians of the Arabian Peninsula, the famous statement that's attributed to the Prophet as a hadith, Al-ma'idatu baytu da wa lahimyatu ra'su dawa. The stomach is the seat of disease, and regime, diet, is the foundation of health. Now, we know now, forks over knives, that much of the ailments that are afflicting people can be treated and cured by altering diet. Simple as that. So that was a principle that the Prophet ﷺ gave us. He fasted. He cleansed. I mentioned yesterday in Sahih Bukhari, Aisha said that he used to use senna to evacuate entirely his bowels every year. So he did a type of what they would call now a detox fast or a cleansing. The Prophet ﷺ did that as a practice, and that's mentioned in the hadith. So there's benefit in that, to do that, undeniably. But if you have diabetes and the Quran says honey is a shifa, and your doctor said don't use the honey, you have to listen to the doctor there. It's not that the honey's not a shifa, but even some cures are poisons for other people. So this is where the intellect becomes very important, and there's people that will utilize. I saw a man in Medina who's a close friend of mine, and I noticed that he had a basal cell carcinoma on his eye. And I told him, I said, when did that happen? And he said, recently. And I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm putting honey on it and black seed. And I said, no, you have to go to a doctor immediately. And alhamdulillah, he did, and he got cured of it. But that's an example where we're not using our intelligence because the Prophet ﷺ would not promote that. There's great strides have been made in medicine, and that we have to use what we've been given. It's a blessing from Allah. Antibiotics are one of the greatest blessings that has ever been bestowed on humanity. Many of us would not be here right now in this room if it wasn't for antibiotics, and that's simply a truth. Now, on the other hand, there's a lot more people on the planet than there's ever been. And overpopulation is considered a major problem today. So everything has pluses and negatives. But overall, antibiotics is a great blessing, but it's being overused, right? Clearly, because there's a commercial component to that. So the Prophet ﷺ did not come to teach our worldly matters, but there's much wisdom in his statements about many of these things that we can benefit from. One of the things Qadi Iyad says about the Prophet is one of his miracles is that when he was asked about the hold, he said, Zawayahu sawa'un. It's in the Shifa. Its angles are equidistant. Qadi Iyad said, that's not the language of a desert Arab. He said, that's a language of an engineer. And he said, but he was being asked a question that related to architecture, and so he gave an expert's answer. Zawayahu sawa'un, equidistant angles. So it's a square.